Ultimate Fact presents Top 20 Signs to Detect a Lie. Before we begin, click that like button to inspire us. Moreover, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to be inspired by this type of ultimate fact. Lying is a part of human nature. We've all lied, and we've all been lied to. Some people stick to white lies while others experiment with large-scale fibs. It's a simple truth that we'll be exposed to a lie at some point during our lives, whether it involves ourselves or one of our acquaintances. None of us want to be the victim of a lie, which is why we devote so much energy to learning how to spot liars. We read books on lie detection, listen to TED Talks from psychologists on the signs of lying, and scan internet articles about the patterns of a liar in order to gain insight into the art of lying. You're probably watching this video right now because you suspect someone of lying to you and want to find out if they are. Eye blinking. If you're in the middle of swapping stories with your coworker about hot dates last weekend, and you notice that your coworker has started to blink a lot more than usual, then chances are good that your coworker isn't telling you a true story. Rapid eye blinking indicates an increase in brain activity, and quite a bit of brain activity is required to construct a lie. Concealing hands. Some liars fidget when telling a lie, and a likely hotspot for fidgeting is the hand. Liars will sometimes subconsciously conceal their hands to hide fidgety fingers from prying eyes. While hand fidgeting isn't a foolproof sign of lying, it can suggest that a person is telling a fib, especially if the behavior is out of character for that person. If you catch someone hiding their hands, then be on the lookout for other signs of lying. Mauling lips. Some people become suddenly preoccupied with their lips while lying. They might gnaw at their lips until they draw blood, or lick them so often that they get tongue burn. Like rapid eye blinking, biting or licking of the lips can signal an increase in brain activity, which is necessary to telling a convincing lie. Once more, the key is to determine whether a person is a regular lip muncher or whether they reserve that behavior for special occasions requiring a lie. Eye contact. People think that liars avoid eye contact, when in fact they maintain eye contact for longer periods of time than liars do. Knowing that people assume that they'll avert their gaze when telling a lie, liars sometimes overcompensate by locking their eyes with yours for longer than necessary to convince you of their honesty. People typically maintain eye contact for 3 to 5 second intervals during everyday conversation. If you notice someone holding your gaze for a much longer interval, then your lie detector sensors should go off. Flares nostrils. Have you ever been talking to someone and suddenly noticed their nostrils widen? If so, then you probably checked to see if there were any strange odors in the air. But perhaps you couldn't manage to get a whiff of anything smelly. There's another possible reason for your conversation partner's sudden nostril flaring, one that has nothing to do with funky smells. Nostril flaring is yet another indicator of increased brain activity, which is itself an indicator of lying. Beware of large nostrils, for they may signal the presence of a liar. Face color. We're all familiar with the concept of blushing. We blush when we feel hot or when we feel nervous or embarrassed about something. Some liars blush while lying, their cheeks turning a pale shade of pink. That's to be expected, since lying can be anxiety-provoking. But did you ever consider that the color of someone's nose could indicate that they're lying? It turns out that lying can be associated with the change in the color of the nose either turning pale or red. This curious phenomenon has been dubbed the Pinocchio effect. Contradictory gestures. Our words don't always match our actions, even when we're not intending to lie. Occasionally, liars will betray themselves by engaging in behavior that contradicts the story that they're telling. For example, a liar might unconsciously shake their head no when answering a question in the affirmative. Or a liar might speak in a light tone while discussing how sad they feel that their parent died of lung cancer. When words and gestures or words and tone of voice don't match, you can be sure that one of the two is a lie. Beads of sweat. Sweating is a symptom of anxiety, and anxiety often accompanies a lie. Some liars break out in a cold sweat as their lie unfolds. Others sweat the lie out without physically perspiring. If your conversation partner isn't prone to sweating, or if they're known for sweating when telling a lie, then the beads of sweat on their forehead could be a warning sign to you to go fact-checking. Just be sure not to jump to the conclusion that someone's lying based on their excessive sweating alone. It may be really hot in the room, or they may have recently developed a thyroid problem. Breathing speeds. You might have noticed that your brother suddenly started breathing really fast as you ask him questions about his wife's health. Or you might have heard your husband's breathing slow down as he reports his whereabouts to you about the previous night. Changes in breathing patterns can be a giveaway that you're being lied to. Deep breathing, for instance, suggests that brain has increased its activity. If mindfulness has taught us one important lesson, it's to pay attention to our breathing. In this case, you should pay attention to the breathing of others just as mindfully. Speech speeds. Changes in speech rate are another potential giveaway that you're talking to a liar. If you notice a person starts speaking as if they've been hit with a fast-forward button, then watch out for a lie. Quickening speech can be a manifestation of an unconscious desire to get the lie out as fast as possible, like ripping the Band-Aid off, so to speak. Alternatively, a person whose speech becomes more deliberately drawn out may also be lying. Slowing speech can be a sign of labored processing of a lie. The more complicated the lie, the longer it takes for the brain to piece it together. Hence, why a person may talk like a zombie while their brain works to produce a coherent lie. Personal pronouns. One interesting sign that you're talking to a liar involves a grammatical lesson on the personal pronoun. As the name suggests, personal pronouns refer to a particular person. In this case, keep in mind the personal pronouns me, my, and I. Liars psychologically distance themselves from their lies by removing personal pronouns from their narratives. A lack of personal pronouns is conspicuous when people tell stories about themselves. Detail story. There is such a thing as too much detail, especially when it comes to liars. Liars will sometimes embellish their stories to make them seem more plausible. An adjective here, an adverb there. You should become concerned when someone who isn't usually very verbal suddenly tells an elaborate story, complete with lengthy sentences and complex imagery. You don't need to know what someone had for breakfast to understand why they showed up late for work. Keep an ear out for extraneous information when trying to spot a liar, unless you've already been bored to death by all those pesky details. Fake smile. We've all been in situations where we had to feign happiness in order to spare someone's feelings. Smiles can be deceiving. They make you look happy, but that happiness might actually be a lie. There's a subtle difference between an honest and a fake smile. An honest smile engages both the mouth and the eyes, while a fake smile only makes use of the lips. When a person's smile isn't reflected in their eyes, it probably isn't genuine. Reverse statement. I'll admit, this one sounds strange, but it's an interrogation tactic used by police officers and FBI agents to determine whether a suspect is telling the truth. False memories are harder to recall in reverse order than true memories. If you suspect that someone is telling you a fabricated story, then ask them to recount the events of that story from end to beginning. If that trips them up, then you may have caught them in a lie. Then again, people have trouble saying the alphabet backwards, so don't rely solely on the backwards tactic to detect liars. Inconsistencies. Simple active listening skills can go a long way towards ferreting out a liar. If you follow a story carefully, then you might notice that some of the details don't make sense in the same context. For example, if a person says that they arrived home at 11 p.m., then mentions watching the latest episode of How to Get Away with Murder live, you know that they lied because that airs live at 10 p.m. Don't underestimate the power of active listening. Micro-expression. We can't control our micro-expressions, so pay close attention to them. Micro-expressions are expressions that last less than a second and which reveal a hidden emotion. If, for instance, a person is trying to conceal their fear of roller coasters by smiling excitedly at their friend's proposal to ride one, then a momentary expression of fear will flash across the person's face. Blink and you'll miss it, which is why you have to be paying close attention to spot micro expressions. Long pauses. Liars sometimes hesitate more than they should during a conversation. A pause following a sentence might indicate that a person is thinking about how best to deliver a lie. Pauses are a definite warning sign when they color the speech of someone who's normally a fluent speaker. If a person who normally speaks without thinking suddenly has to think before speaking, then chances are high that that person is busy constructing a lie. Lies certainly don't come as easily to tell us as the truth, which is where the pauses come in. They buy us some time while we think up the next portion of our latest lie. High voice. Changes in pitch can give a lie away faster than a fine-tuned lie detector. Usually, our voices rises in pitch when we lie. Perhaps our voices rise in pitch when we lie in the hopes that it'll get so high that no one will be able to hear it. Maybe it's a sign of self-control being used up to construct an elaborate lie, leaving us unable to keep our voice at a level pitch. Either way, it's amusing to imagine a liar talking their way out of a lie in a voice that sounds like Anna Faris in House Bunny. Body language. Pay close attention to a person's body language when interacting with them. Body language can give us clues as to whether a person is being honest with us or lying to us. A person who suddenly shrinks into himself could be in the process of telling a lie. Liars unconsciously try to make themselves appear smaller so as to not attract attention. That way, their lies will have a greater chance of going undetected. If you notice a person beginning to hunch over or pulling their arms into their chest, then be on the alert for additional lying behaviors. Baseline behavior. Not all liars are created equal. There isn't one overt behavior that's common to all liars. Therefore, in order to tell if someone is lying to you, you need to take a measure of that person's baseline behavior. Observe how that person behaves in situations when they're telling the truth. Do they normally fidget, or is that an unusual behavior for them? Do they always speak really fast, or only when talking to their boss? Being aware of what constitutes a person's typical behavior is important when pinpointing liars. If you witness a change in a person's baseline behavior, then that person may be lying to you. There are some behaviors that are common to liars, but they aren't foolproof methods of lie detection. Don't assume that a person is lying to you if they exhibit any one of the signs on this list, but if several of these signs come to your attention, then you might want to fact-check that person's statement. That is all for now. Like always, if you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and leave us some love in the comments section. Keep up to date with all of our awesome videos. Be sure to hit subscribe and turn your notifications on to never miss a thing. Until next time, do take good care of yourself.